December 1942. British cities still lie in ruins after the Blitz. Many who have lost their homes are forced to find shelter within the London Underground or the caves of the cliffs of Dover. Across the country, the war has made the risk of want and disease even greater. But this month, Sir William Beveridge presents a report that promises not only to repair the damage of war, but create a new world better than before. It has been done in other countries, but here's how World War II made the British welfare state. This is On the Homefront, a series of World War II in real time. I'm Anna Deinhard. In Britain, the Second World War has dramatically changed the government's relationship with the people. The state is now responsible for directly managing the economy, from deciding upon industrial priorities to controlling food supplies so everyone has enough to eat. Families can also expect government aid if their homes are destroyed by bombing or the breadwinners are conscripted to fight. There is a new healthcare system for those injured by war or who contribute to the war effort. And in this state-planned economy, there has been a dramatic fall in the unemployment rate. Before the war, it was rarely below 1 million, but by the summer of 1941, it is at 200,000, and those numbers keep going down. The idea that the state has a duty to provide for people in times of need is not new, but that has traditionally only extended to the poorest and most destitute of society. Now, the government bears a social responsibility to the whole nation. The attitudes of the British people are also shifting. People from all social classes have lost their homes, livelihood, and loved ones. It has created a new sense of patriotism and equality of sacrifice that many want to remain even after the war is over. But the existing social security system remains incredibly confusing. Different forms of social insurance were introduced at the beginning of the 20th century to protect workers against things like the risk of sickness or unemployment. But piecemeal reform meant it soon became a confusing mess of governmental, local, and private schemes. By 1941, 7 different government departments administered different kinds of benefits, all structured and financed in different ways. This decentralized system has caused services to overlap and fail to make provisions for many of the population. In 1941, less than half the population is covered by the insurance system. Changing all, it has been a core aim of the labor movement for quite some time. But their party is rarely in power. That changed in May 1940 when the wartime coalition government of the Conservative Party and the Labour Party under Prime Minister Winston Churchill takes office. One concession to bring Labour into government was the establishment of a committee to review the current insurance system. Now, on June 10, 1941, Labour Minister without portfolio Arthur Greenwood sets up the Social Insurance Committee. It consists of civil workers from those 7 departments involved in social insurance and representative of the Treasury. Veteran civil servant and economist Sir William Beveridge is appointed chairman. He is already an expert on the matter. He worked on the unemployment insurance scheme introduced in 1911 and was the chairman of the Unemployment Insurance Statutory Committee in 1934. An ambitious man, Beveridge is actually disappointed by the official brief. The order to write a survey of the existing national schemes of social insurance and allied service, including workmen's compensation, and to make recommendations hardly sound world-shattering. So, what does Beveridge do? He goes beyond it. He quickly comes up with some revolutionary proposals that indicate he has no interest in improving the current system, but instead building a new one from the scratch. It causes a great deal of anxiety among the cabinet about the extent of the expected report. They ask Beveridge to change course, but he refuses. After some discussion, Arthur Greenwood writes to Beveridge on January 17, 1942, "The report, when made, will be your own report. It will be signed by you alone, and the departmental representatives will not be associated in any way with the views and recommendations on questions of policy which it contains." The message is clear. No promises of action. You're on your own. For Beveridge, it's pure motivation. He hurls himself into his project. His committee carefully compiles 127 pieces of reports on the states of social security, the insurance system, and poverty. They are written by various organizations such as insurance companies, trade unions, research institutes, local authorities, and pressure groups. Representatives from the organizations are cross-examined in more than 50 private evidence sessions. Meanwhile, Beveridge launches a press campaign to foster support for his work, giving interviews in newspapers and appearing in radio shows. The conservative members of government are more than a bit worried about all this. In autumn, the Home Intelligence Division of the Ministry of Information reports, 3 years ago, the term Social Security was almost unknown to the public as a whole. It now appears to be generally accepted as an urgent post-war need. The anxiety increases again in mid-November 1942 when Beveridge admits to the Daily Telegraph that his report will take the country halfway to Moscow. And the completed report is ambitious as promised. Beveridge identifies 5 so-called giants on the road to post-war reconstruction: want, disease, ignorance, squalor, and idleness. He declares his primary focus to be to abolish the first, want, through a comprehensive system of social security. This means that every citizen will be insured against loss of earning power, whether that be the form of unemployment, sickness, or retirement, as well as guaranteed benefits when they are born, when they marry, and when they die.
We must deal not only with want, but with 4 other giant evils. With disease. That's the purpose of the health service. With ignorance. Dealing with that means more and better schools. With squalor. Stopping that means better planning of town and countryside, and more and better houses. With idleness, that is to say, with unemployment.
It will all be organized by a new Ministry of Social Security. Almost as an afterthought, the report also proposes the creation of a national health service. But how much of a financial burden will this be? The report admits that this is difficult to predict with variables like inflation and national income. However, the burden will be split between government tax revenue, an employer contribution, and an employee contribution. This 3-way split is already the structure of most insurance schemes. The main difference is that this will now be single and universal, with fixed proportional contributions. The estimated cost of all of this will be £697 million in the first year of implementation. This isn't new expenditure. According to the report, 432 million would have been spent on social security schemes anyway, a figure which doesn't include individual expenditure on medical care or various forms of voluntary insurance. Beveridge proposes budget does. Unsurprisingly, the extent of the report's financial obligation will be the hottest topic of debate in the years to come. But how radical all this is cannot be overstated. Beveridge has called on the state to provide for its citizens from cradle to grave. No one left behind, no one left in want. His justification is the ongoing war. A revolutionary moment in the world's history is a time for revolutions, not patching. But the cabinet is now debating whether Beveridge reports should even be published at all. Chancellor Kingsley Wood is strongly against it. In a note to Churchill, he writes, "The time for declaring a dividend on the profits of the Golden Age is the time when those profits have been realized in fact, not merely in the imagination." But Churchill feels that Beveridge's press campaign has left them with no choice. On December 2nd, Social Insurance and Allied Services, the Beveridge Report, is published. While the cabinet has been debating, the British troops have achieved major victories in Africa and Rommel is in full retreat in Egypt. For the first time in 3 years, there is a chance that Britain will be victorious. It means a promise of a better future is welcomed even more enthusiastically. People queue a mile long at government bookshops to buy a copy, and within 1 month, 100,000 are sold. The content of the proposal is received with a lot of enthusiasm as well. A survey of public opinion within a fortnight of publications shows that 86% of all interviewees favor the proposal, and so do 73% of all interviewed employers. Politicians are less united. The Labour Party is of course in favor, but the Conservative Party is split. The younger MPs approve of it, while the older ones don't. Churchill is in the later group. A day after the publication, he writes to the Minister of Reconstruction Problems, William Jowett, that no promises about the post-war plans would be made until a financial deal has been negotiated with the United States. The report also has an international audience. The BBC broadcasts details on the report in 22 languages and copies are dropped over the occupied territories. About 50,000 copies are sold in the United States. Professor A. Nichol of the embassy staff of the British Embassy in Washington reports on American reaction. Not the least wonder will be at the everlasting stamina of the British people, probably the only nation in the world which would even form such a plan while engaged in a war of survival. After the Christmas recess, the British Parliament will discuss the Beveridge Report in February 1943. This will nearly break up the wartime coalition, and it won't be until 1946, after a general election and a new Labour government, before the key measures of the report are implemented and the British welfare state is born. Beveridge has picked up on a zeitgeist that seems to be running through the British people. They don't want to go back to the old world after the war is won. They want a better one to come out of it. The war is a wake-up call, and the changes that society has undergone to survive has kick-started a process that will shape the post-war world. Have a look at my film about the healthcare crisis that came with World War II right here. Make sure that we can keep up our work to present the past and hope of a better future by joining the Time Ghost Army on patreon.com or timeghost.tv and ring that bell.